Hi, this is Gilles, the radio prepper. Today we are going to talk about batteries, a subject I haven't really addressed enough in the past, so we'll see all types of batteries that I use and I recommend, and the precaution you have to take while using them. I started using lead-acid batteries, like this one. And this is a 12 volt, 2 amp hour battery. And I have another one here, much heavier. Not too big, but it's definitely not a lightweight. This one has an MPPT, well, presumably MPPT charger inside here on the top. You can admire the duct tape work I did there. I have Anderson power poles. I have a plug here, a standard DC plug for most of my radios, and I have an input here for a solar panel, so 18 to 20 volts maybe. And that's about it for this one. I think it's a 4 amp hour battery, if I remember well, I'm not sure. But these batteries here are kind of obsolete now. I don't use them anymore because they're just too heavy. Now we have newer batteries, lithium batteries, and different chemistries that appeared on the market and that are much more efficient and lighter to use. But they do bring some challenges and some dangers even. So we'll see about how to charge them, how to discharge them, how to use them, how to make sure that your house doesn't catch on fire. The first type of batteries, rechargeable batteries that I started using for tiny radios, are the AA cells. So those are AA batteries, rechargeable. Those are from EBL, and they're given at 2.8, well, 2800 milliamp hour. I'm not sure, that seems a lot, so who knows, but they work, and I'm happy with them. So I use 8 of them in an adapter like this one, a case, and I have my plug, DC plug for the output. And that gives me, I think, about 12 volts, around that. So not a whole lot of voltage, but the radios I use them with, like the USDX, work perfectly fine. The QCX Mini from QRP Labs, the Weber MTR, all those radios. I can even use those with my Elecraft K1, and that's quite enough. When you don't need a whole lot of power, those cells are perfect. I got those with the EBL charger, which works fine. You can see here those are charging, so the light turns green, of course, when it's charged, and they're quite light, and that's what I like about them, is that a pack like this doesn't weigh that much, and that makes a big difference because, for a bug-out radio in a backpack, you don't want to carry a heavy battery like this one. Certainly not. I would just throw that away. I would not carry that. As you can see, there is a huge amount of difference in weight, and the weight savings, of course, this doesn't last as long, but for a radio that sips current at 50 milliamps on receive, it doesn't matter. These batteries will last a very long time. You have to make sure, of course, that you charge them with a dedicated charger that balances the cells. So basically, like the EBL charger, every cell is charged separately. So the correct voltage is applied, and you don't have an unbalanced pack at the end with one cell, some cells with more voltage than another, and that's very important for the lifespan of the batteries, basically. These cells are fairly tolerant of discharge, but like all lithium and newer chemistry batteries, they have a minimum voltage under which the battery will get damaged, and I personally don't discharge the whole pack below 9 volts. Now, this is what I probably use the most, the 18650 cell. These batteries are great, they're lithium chemistry, and they have a voltage of 4.2 volts when fully charged. You should never discharge them lower than, say, about, some people say 2.8 volts, but I don't discharge them below 3.2, just about, because you are reducing the lifespan of the cell if you do that, and you risk by mistake, discharging them too low, and then the cell is done, basically. This can be found in old laptop batteries, bicycle batteries. I just got about more than 30 of those from a friend who gave me a electric bicycle battery pack. Merci Patrick. And so I have a bunch of them. I always use them by a pack of 3, so that gives me 12.6 volts maximum. And I use them in a pack like this with a case. And this has actually an MPPT charger, so solar charger built in. I think the brand is Wonton. I have a video about that somewhere. Just search for it. But there is an MPPT charger built in with the input here, the 18 to 20 volts. I have the Anderson power poles. This case, by the way, is on Thingiverse, so the file for 3D printing. I'll put a link down below. So I get pretty good capacity. 18650s are usually from 2000 to about 3200 milliamp hour. If you see anything else that says like 9000 or anything like that, or 6000, it's fake. It's not true. You don't know what the capacity is actually in that case, but it's just a lie. There are no 18650 cells that go above, I would say maybe the top of the line ones, 3500 milliamp hour, so 3.5 amp hour, and that even is suspicious to me. So you usually don't see 18650 cells that are rated at above 3000 milliamp hour. So you have to be very careful when charging those and discharging them. They're not as sensitive as the LiPo batteries, which we're going to talk about. Still, they can catch on fire if they are overcharged or over discharged too rapidly. So you have to be careful about that. Aside from the MPPT charger here, the built-in one, well, it's a circuit board that you buy and it has the adapter here for the case for the cells. I use Nightcore chargers. So this is a Nightcore, I think it's UM10 if I'm not mistaken. So that's for one cell, and it charges different formats, 18650, 18350, I mean there are 21700. There are different cells like that. 18, the first number, is the diameter of the cell in millimeters. And 650 is the length, so 6.5 centimeters. That's how you determine which kind of cells you have. And this charger will charge all those cells. Same thing for the dual charger here, Nightcore, same thing. Pretty good chargers. They are USB powered, so I like that because with USB you can use a USB solar panel, and that's great. For my bug out bag, I have a couple of those, the single cell charger, because they're pretty light. You can also make 3 cell packs like this one. I just solder them, and I put a charging lead here. So that comes from the RC hobby world, and this is a 3 cell charging lead. So there is no battery management system in this pack, but I use a charger that charges through the leads, the balancing leads here. Plug it in, so 3 cell, and then it will tell you the voltage. There we go. It will tell you the voltage for each cell and balance the cells while charging them, and that works really well. It's a BC4S15D. Found that on either AliExpress or Banggood or eBay. I'll put a link down below if I can find one. You put some heat shrink around it and you have a pack that's pretty small and pretty light. I even have a couple of those, one for my K1 and one for my USDX. And I really like the fact that they have the MPPT charger, well, presumably, again, MPPT charger built in. To recharge them normally at home, I use a regulated power supply. And I set the voltage to 20 volts, and the MPPT charger just charges and balances the cells. By the way, lithium batteries have a storage voltage, which means that you should not leave the battery either fully discharged or fully charged. You will reduce their lifespan that way. So for an 18650 cells, the storage voltage is 3.85 volts. Now you can either charge them up to 3.85 or you can charge them fully and then discharge them slowly to 3.85 using like a light bulb or something like that. You just have to keep an eye on the voltmeter. Some chargers do have a special features that allow you to either charge or discharge them automatically to 3.85. I'm a big fan of the 18650 because you can use them in many other devices, especially flashlights. Now let's move on to something a little bigger. This is a battery pack made of LiPo batteries, lithium iron phosphate. Those have some big advantages, and the biggest one being that they can be charged and discharged. They have a very long lifespan, anywhere from hundreds of cycles to even thousands of cycles, and that battery will last a very long time. Here I have 4 cells. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are LiPo cells. I'll put a link down below if I can find it again. And there is a battery management system here. It's a circuit board with circuitry that balances the cell while charging or discharging and protects the cells by preventing over discharge or overcharging, which of course could also result in a fire. You cannot charge these cells with a regular car battery charger. You don't do that. Each cell has to be balanced individually, basically charged individually. So those are 7 amp hour cells. I'm not sure they're 7 amp hours, but of course when you buy cells from China, most of the time they're gonna lie about it. Doesn't mean it's bad cells, it just means that that's their way of marketing, and they will inflate the numbers. So maybe 6 amp hour, but they are really good. Those LiPo cells are, I'm pretty satisfied with them. They have a maximum voltage of 3.65 volts. You should never discharge them below 3.2 volts, and a storage voltage is around 3.35. So maximum voltage is like a 14.6 something, 14.4 something like that. But on mine here, the BMS that I have actually limits the maximum voltage to about 13.2 for the 4 cells, which bugs me a bit because I'm losing quite a bit of capacity because it doesn't charge the cells to their maximum voltage. But on the other hand, they're gonna last much longer. That's pretty heavy. I use this one with my Xiegu G90. I have 2 packs like this one. There is one lead here for charging, the other one for the plug-in the radio. This is not a solar charger, battery management system. It's a regular charger system. So I will have to buy a special Po4 MPPT charger from Genason, and they have those, and in order to be able to charge the pack with a solar panel. Otherwise I have a charger that I plug in the wall, grid power, but of course I can't count on grid power, so I'm gonna have to buy the charger. Last but not least, LiPo batteries. The house torture. Those batteries are pretty darn dangerous, I'll tell you. If you puncture any of those cells, it will go off like a blowtorch. And you have to be careful when you charge them or discharge them. I always charge those. Of course, first of all, never charge or discharge batteries unattended. Don't plug in your batteries on your charger and go shopping. When you come back, you might not have a house left. And people have experienced that. I have seen that on YouTube videos, forums for RC, radio control hobby. Drones, batteries that people have had their house absolutely go up in flames. I've seen a video on YouTube of a dog chewing on a battery and it just goes off. It's dangerous, but they have a pretty good capacity. This is a 5 amp hour battery, but it's 7 cells, so 7 times 4.2 volts. 4.2 volts is the maximum charging voltage for LiPo batteries. You should not discharge them lower than about 3.4. I'm very careful with my drones. Before I was going down to about 3.2 and I lost batteries, I lost packs. Sometimes you can remove, separate the cells and reduce the number of cells and make a smaller pack, but it's not always easy. And again, you have to be very careful because they can go off like crazy. I use this one for my VRM5080 because, again, it's 7 cells, so I need the voltage for the military radio. I can use this pack with my PRC320 and PRC351 radios as well, and I do. I changed the RC XT type connector for Anderson power pole, so I cannot use this battery for RC for my drones. The voltage is too high anyway. The most I use on my drones is 6S, so 6 cells times 4.2. I think that's about 25 volts. This is more like 29. Here's another LiPo, much smaller. This is a drone battery. You can see here it has the balancing lead, charging lead, and it has the XT30 connector. So for my radios, I use adapters that I made. There are XT30, XT60, and XT90 connectors. That 90 is the maximum number of amps that you can put through the connector. So XT30, 30 amps. And those batteries can, LiPo batteries can support very high discharge current. It's amazing how many amps you can discharge from those batteries. I have another battery for my drones that is about as big as this one. It's a 6S, also 5000 milliamp hour. And I have one drone that draws 50 amps per motor. It's got 4 motors, so that's 200 amps, guys, and this battery will take it, not for long, the drone can only use, that much amperage for just a few seconds, and after that it just burns up, basically. So, but it's possible, and they're not so good for low current applications, though. And it's very easy to go below the minimum voltage and then you lose your battery, you lose your pack. So when I use LiPos, I use an alarm system, like it's a little device. I don't have one here, but you plug it in the charging lead and it gives you the voltage of each cell in turn. And if it goes below a preset point, which is about 3.4 volts, an alarm goes off. There is a buzzer that is very loud and goes off, so you don't go below the minimum voltage, because when you use your radio, you're listening, so the voltage is higher up. Then all of a sudden you press the PTT button, you're drawing quite a few amps, and during the time you're speaking, the voltage can go past below the minimum voltage, and then you damage your battery. And I have damaged batteries, LiPo batteries like that. That's why I don't use them generally for radio. The only reason I made adapters for these connectors is that I want to be able to use my LiPo batteries, because I have a ton of them of all sizes. But I can use them for radios if I need to, as a last resort kind of thing. But it's a good thing to be able to have that capability, basically, if you use LiPos for something else than, for drones or RC, anything like that. To charge LiPo batteries, you of course need a dedicated charger, and this is a dual charger. You can charge 2 batteries at a time. That's an RC charger. I think it's, what brand is that? Toolkit RC. And you have a color screen, and there's a feature to set the battery to storage voltage. And what's good is that if you have the right connectors and the charging leads, you can also charge lithium batteries, 18650 packs and things like that, if you have the correct voltage. And for instance, this one I could charge, the charging lead goes here into the charger. And of course, I'd need an adapter to plug it in the charger, because you have to plug in both to charge the pack. But this is the same voltage as the LiPos, so you can use a LiPo charger for lithium batteries. And this charger will charge 2 batteries at a time, stop at the right voltage, and if you want to set the batteries at storage voltage, you can do it, and that's great. And that's not very expensive. I think it's probably like $50, something like that. But again, you can't charge the newer chemistries, you know, LiPo4, lithium and newer batteries without a dedicated charger. Don't do it. You're going to damage your batteries and you risk setting your house on fire. All right, I hope this was good enough information. Don't hesitate to ask questions in the comments or give more information. I don't know it all. Once again, make sure that you are safe using batteries. I charge mine often in a metal box so that there is no risk, and I put them outside if I can, and I never leave them unattended. Make sure you respect the maximum and minimum voltages and store your batteries at storage voltage. And that will ensure that your batteries will live a long time and that you'll live a long time. Don't charge batteries while you're taking a nap, that's for sure. Have a good one. All right, because this website does cost me much more than what it brings me, I did sign up for an affiliate program with EMP Shield. We are all concerned about EMPs, you know, electromagnetic pulse, especially for radio equipment. And EMP Shield does provide protection for your whole home, for your vehicle, and for your radios. I was a bit skeptical, I have to admit, but after looking at all the documentation they have and the military testing they did, so it does look pretty legit to me. I got you a coupon for $50 off at EMP Shield, so don't forget to use it. It's Radio Prepper in one word, all lowercase. By the way, do use the link down below rather than going to the site directly. That gives me more brownie points.